Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good, my dear friends. Today is 6th February 2020. Day is Thursday. The first article that we are going to analyze is Purifying Water. It's about RO. Remember, it was a news item yesterday. So there are many things that we are going to talk about it. But before that, I would like to introduce all of you to our pen drive and tablet courses. They are designed by the best faculties of our country. They are our paid and premium courses, and with the help of our paid and premium courses, there are thousands of students out there. They have covered and they have cracked various different competitive exams. To purchase them and to find out more about it, check out StudyIQ.com. To download the PDF of today's lecture, visit my FB page. You can join my Telegram channel. Please do share this lecture with other students. If you have learned something from today's discussion, hit the like button and please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So purifying water. It's basically about this membrane-based water purification system. Normally we call them RO, right? ROs that we have. I'm sure most of us will be using this thing at our home. So we know how it works, right? Basic things about how it works. So this thing or this particular topic is in news because of this Environment Ministry's draft notification to regulate the use of this membrane-based water purification system. It all started because of a case that was going on in National Green Tribunal, and National Green Tribunal has basically banned this RO water filter use in Delhi, and the main reason is that this purification process creates or generates a huge amount of wastewater. There are various different studies, and most of them they say that nearly 80% of water during this treatment gets wasted. So out of, let's say, 10 liter water, if you want to purify some water, then 10 liter out of 10 liter 8 liter will come out as wastewater, and only 2 liter will be the pure water or good quality water, or we can say potable water. Now here you have a very important fact. In RO, the total dissolved solids in water, which covers trace chemicals, certain viruses, bacteria and salts, can be removed or reduced to meet potable water standards. How RO works, or what it does basically is it will get rid of this, or it will reduce chemicals, viruses, bacteria and salts, so the water can meet potable. Potable means a water that is we can drink, normally we say drinkable water, but it's the right word is potable water. So a question can be formed for your prelims examination based on the facts that we have just discussed. Like question can be, it can go like this way, like judging or keep RO, considering RO, observe the things that are given below, and you can see things like virus, bacteria, salt, sugar, let's say, right? And then you have to choose the correct option. Options will be, A will be 1, 2 and 3 only, B can be 2, 3 and 4 only, C can be 1 and 2 only, and things like that, right? So there are different ways of solving this type of questions. One thing is you should be absolutely sure about the thing that is wrong. Like the 4 options that I gave you, sugar is not mentioned here, right? So you can clearly say all options with option 4 or number 4 are wrong, so you will get a proper answer. Or else you should be 100% sure about the things that are covered. Normally when you find virus and bacteria together, we think like it will not be together, generally it's basically our assumption, sort of, you can say, fluke as well. So we have to be very careful. So remember these 4 options here. Chemicals, let me again, the reason why I'm emphasizing is because you find this type of questions, because this thing is in current affairs now. So chemicals, viruses, bacteria and salts, these are the 4 things that it can reduce. Then you have these 2 important nutrients as well, calcium and magnesium. Many a times these ROs are blamed that they eliminate some important nutrients like calcium and magnesium, and because of this thing there are so many patients out there, they are because of consuming this RO water, they are suffering from various different deficiencies. Now, the notification implies that these filters are only prohibited in the home gets in those homes where you find water that is supplied, the water that is falling under this BIS, that is Bureau of Indian Standards qualification, or if the water is up to the mark or up to the standard of BIS, then those houses will not be allowed to have ROs because they don't need it, isn't it? Yes. And people will also not buy. If you can supply potable water, good clean water to people via tap, then who will buy RO? Why you will spend 5,000, 6,000 rupees, and then every month you have to change some things in it. I don't know the right name, but you have to change those refills, and you have to maintain it, and then you have to wash. So it's basically extra work for housewives or the person who are looking after people who are looking after our home. They have to do some extra work because of this RO. So if good water is coming from BIS, or BIS standard water is coming from your tap, then why people will buy this RO? But it's easy to say and nearly impossible for a country like India. We know that in our country, even in one city as well, we have few pockets where you get good water. In fact, in few pockets you get water, right? I'm not saying good or bad. You get water, and there are few pockets where you don't have water at all. Like Chennai, remember last summer, Chennai was in a very bad position, and this is not going to be this is not just about Chennai, it's about our villages, it's about our cities, right? It's basically about our country, India. Like one agency of USA which monitors resources of various different countries, and based on that USA will form or take a decision like how you should deal with that particular country in future. So as per this report on resources by a US agency, India is going to face a severe water crisis after 2025. So water is a very important thing, and in our country we find, I personally believe that the biggest problem is even today we are not that much aware about what to do with water. There are few people they look after water very well. Most of us are not that much careful or conscious. We see people washing their cars using this soft water. Then in our country, if you have submersible at your home, then you can extract as much as water you like. No one is there to stop you. So this is also a thing we have, like in our mind we have this thing that we have access to unlimited amount of water. So water is not, means if you go out to watch a cinema or a film in cinema theaters, a 1 liter bottle will cost you 50 rupees, and you will find people will carry that water. Even if bottle is half or nearly 25% water is left in that bottle, then as well people will carry that bottle. They will not, because they have paid a price for it. But when you have submersible, you have paid just one-off price, 20,000, 25,000, that's it, and then you don't have to pay. So people use it without applying their mind. So this is a big problem. In agriculture as well, we are using too much water. This much water is not required. So there are so many areas where we can improve ourselves. If we go through some indexes like Composite Water Management Index, Niti Aayog says that 70% of water supply in our country is contaminated. Out of this Water Aids Quality Index, out of 122 countries, our rank is 120th. So you can imagine how bad we are when it comes to water management. And here as well, again, see the aim is, after this notification, the main aim of this notification is to ensure that no more than 25% of water being treated is wasted. But I would say that we should go for 100%. Like, if you want to learn something as far as water is concerned, then Israel is the nation, right? We can make Israel our guru in water management, and there are so many things that you can learn from Israel, not just how the government is working, but their culture as well, how people look after the world. So this awareness, this thing is there in their culture, and the earlier we adopt all these things, the better it will be for us. Or else, as per this US agency, and we have seen this thing in various different parts of our country, future is going to be very bleak if we don't look after our water. So of course we have talked about some extra points over here, but I'm sure this has helped you to have a big picture on water. We should not limit ourselves with just purifying water. We should take care about overall water, how much we are recycling, how much we can use. Like, it's very strange that we use soft water in our flush as well, toilet flush. We use soft water, water coming from the same tank that is good enough that we can use for washing our vegetables and cooking and other things. And the same water is being used for our toilet flush and other things. So there should be, we can have another tank where we can use just recycled water. These are the things that we have to start doing. Right, so second one is course correction for the Speaker's Office. A very important article, but before that, let me give you a brief about this one. This one is about politics in USA. If you have extra time, then go through it. If not, then you can totally leave this article. You have two more articles, this too, right? This one is about AAP. It's about Delhi election, what's going on. And it's more about AAP, a political party. And this one is again about this AAP or AAP, Kejriwal's party. So, three political articles. If you have extra time, then go through it, or else you can reject them. When you are preparing for competitive exams, the most important thing is things that you should read or things that you should spend your energy after. But there are many things, both taking things and leaving as well. You should know what to leave, and that is also most important. So this one, and this one, you can leave these three articles. We have already done with this one. We are going to see this one, and after that we will talk about this one, very important, and this one again is very important. So course correction for the Speaker's Office. Now, a few weeks ago we talked about power of Speaker, 10th schedule of our constitution, and we talked about this dissent, remember? So here we find Supreme Court's recommendation on this post of Speaker. Now, Speaker is a very powerful position. It has a quasi-judicial authority. And the problem with Speaker is that Speaker comes from a particular political party. So Supreme Court has recommended that we should have a substitute where we can go for a constitutional amendment, means like Parliament must seriously consider a constitutional amendment, and we can substitute some powers or this post of Speaker with a retired Supreme Court judge or retired Chief Justice of High Court or some other outside independent mechanism. And the reason why we need to do this thing is because first of all, we have to understand who becomes a speaker or how, right? So I'm going to be very brief here. So when I'm saying speaker, right, I'm talking about both MPs, that is member of parliament, and MLA, that is member of legislative, because you find speaker at two places. One is Lok Sabha, right? So Lok Sabha, that is our parliament, one of the house of our parliament. And MLAs, you find them in Legislative Assembly of a state. So you have a speaker here, and then you have this house, you have all the members, their sitting arrangement is given this way, right? So it's like, this is how and then you have people who are working for the staff of this Lok Sabha, right? So I'm not going too much into it. So here is your speaker. Speaker will look after the house and, main person. It's like a monitor in a classroom. So speaker, how you elect a speaker or who becomes a speaker? Speaker becomes a person who is part of your Lok Sabha or your Legislative Assembly. He or she will become a speaker, will get elected. So after, let's say, election of Maharashtra is over, Legislative Assembly, elections are over, then one person will become temporary speaker, and then election will take place. So in this one, what will happen is all these MLAs, they will select one person. So naturally, if you have a majority, then you are going to select someone from your party, isn't it? So a person from your party will become the main monitor or the speaker of your house. So it's quite natural that that person will have or can have, I'm not saying 100% all the time, but there are chances that that person may have a political inclination for for his party or her party. And this is something that we should be worried about. That's what Supreme Court has said, that we need to find out we have to find out a way through which we can get rid of this deficiency. It becomes part of this 10th schedule when it comes to when disqualifying MLAs or MP. The power of speaker is final and binding, and normally you cannot challenge it as well. Speaker is the ultimate interpreter and arbiter of those provisions which relate to the functioning of the House, and this one is included in it. This dissent related topics. Then she decides the duration of debates, can discipline members, and even override decisions by committee. So you can see here, speaker is a very important as well as very powerful position. Now, why it is very important? She represents the collective voice of the House and is the sole representative of the House in international arena. Every year you have this international meeting, and you find the speaker of our Lok Sabha attends this meeting, and basically this speaker represents our freedom, our nation. And in the words of Nehruji, the speaker represents the House. She represents the dignity of the House, the freedom of the House, and because the House represents the nation in a particular way, the speaker becomes a symbol of nation's freedom and liberty. Therefore, that should be an honored position, a free position, and should be occupied always by persons of outstanding ability and impartiality. Impartiality is very important, but on many occasions, right, we have, I'm not saying most of the time, but we have seen this thing many times, that speakers, they have behaved in a very partial manner, which is not good for our democracy. If we go through the minority view of Justice J.S. Verma in a particular case of this Kihoto Holohan versus Zachil Hu and others. In this case, Justice J.S. Verma's view was minority view, but his view is important. He says that the speaker being an authority within the House and his tenure being dependent on the will of the majority therein, likelihood of suspicion of bias could not be ruled out. A speaker will stay on the chair as long as the majority is happy with him or her, isn't it? So majority can change speaker. So there are likelihood of suspicion of bias as per Justice J.S. Verma, and practically as well we have seen this thing. Currently, the extent of the speaker's political commitment often depends on the personality and character of the person holding the office. And of course, this is something that is important as well. Means just a chair or a post or a position is not everything. Your personality and individual's personality will play a very important role. So let's say if you have a person who is extraordinary, right, a very good person, then that will be 50%. Then 50% will depend on your post, rules and regulations of the post and other things. So if we have this sort of commitments or contribution coming from both the sides, the individual as well as post, then things will become, it will become more solid, more mature. But when you have a good person coming in, but if your system is a bit weak, then there are chances when you will have not that great person holding this office, then you will see all this bias and other sort of issues. If we talk about UK, in UK, main characteristics of the Speaker of the House of Commons is neutrality. And, it is again important that this impartiality, fairness and autonomy in decision making are something that these are the qualities that we need for a speaker. So yes, Supreme Court has rightly said that we can think about it. I'm not saying that we need to change it altogether. There should be a healthy debate on this thing. Like if there are a few changes that we can do, and if we can improve this speaker's position or this post, if we can get rid of all this some of demerits that we find in this age, if we can get rid of it, then yes, we should work for it, because it's not just about a house, it's about our nation as well. And in democracy index as well, we are not doing that great. So definitely this recommendation that is coming from Supreme Court is something of very serious nature. So we have done with this. Now we'll talk about fashioning the framework of a new India. Now, dear friends, I'm not sure how many of you, but if you are following daily financial news analysis, a lecture that is delivered by me on this platform, StudyIQ. So if you are following this DFNA, then I'm sure if you read this article, it will be, very easy, you can say cakewalk for you guys, because we do talk about this sort of items on regular basis, not every day, of course, but we talk about financial, business, economical items, and we analyze things in this DFNA. So if you are not watching it, then I reckon you guys that you should watch DFNA. It will help you a lot. Now, the thing is, the Indian economy is going through a severe crisis. Yes, our GDP growth is somewhere around 5% at present. Construction is 3.3%. Construction sector is growing at the rate of 3.3. Agriculture 2.1. Auto sector is in a very bad shape. MSME is not doing that great. When MSME is not doing that, let's say auto sector. If auto is not doing that great, auto will, there are so many industries that are dependent on auto. Like when you are making a car, you need so many leather industry, rubber industry is there, plastic industry, steel, iron, and I can go on, engineers, and there's so many things. So if auto industry is not doing that well, then so many industry will, they will fall down with auto. MSME provides job for so many people, right? Unorganized sector. And if it's not doing, then, it will create NPA for the banks. Exports will come down. And they are coming down, in fact. And credit growth is not that great. Credit growth basically means people are not taking loans. I'm talking about businesses. If they are not taking loans, that means they are not ready to invest. And this will create a negative environment as well in the economy. So these are the problems that we are going through. Now, the question is why we find ourselves in this situation. Because if we go through some of the reports, we find that Human Development Report 2019 says that 44% of Indian population is under multidimensional poverty line. 50% poorest population holds 4.1% of national health, but richest 10% owes 73%. India has 15.2% population that is falling under this malnourishment category. Women 15% against 9.3% in China. Hunger rank, ours is 112, Brazil is at 18, China 25, South Africa 59, and these are BRIC members. Then you have education. Overall literacy in India is 74.04, but in other countries it's very good. See, 90 plus in China, Brazil, and South Africa. Now, education 74.04 looks a bit okay for our country, but 40 to 45% population is either illiterate or they have studied up to 4th standard only. And those who have studied as well, we know the quality of education. I'm not saying every one of us is uneducated and illiterate, no, but a big chunk, they have degrees, but they have never been to college, and this sort of things are quite common in our country. So educated unemployment is also rising. Marginalized, the major reason for the crisis is because the marginalized 40%, plus the bottom 40% population, they don't get that opportunities. So it's like, I'll give you one example. Just imagine you have 100 people in your village, and out of these 100 people, 40 people are not doing great, means in terms of economy they are very poor. And then you have rest 60. Now, I'm not saying all 60 are going to be rich. Out of this 60, maybe let's say 10 are extraordinary rich. The others are struggling, they're doing okay. So if these people, this 60 are producing something like, let's say, services or products, do you think they would be able to sell it to everyone? No, because 40 out of this 100, 40 are those who can barely survive. Then like basic necessities are not fulfilled. Then how they are going to buy your products? So when you have this big population that is poor, that is living in this situation, then how you can expect your economy will grow fast? Then the other thing is, we are spending what? Just 1.4% of our GDP after health and 3% of our GDP after education. We should be spending 6 to 8% after education and 4 to 6% after health. And because of, yesterday we were talking about this thing, lack of education, lack of proper facilities of education, health and skill creates, we cannot create human resources, and we are not that competitive as well when it comes to our production units, because big chunk of our population is illiterate. It's not doing that great in terms of health, as we have already gone through the figures, right? Malnourishment, wasted, stunted, maximum number of people are living in India. So major solution is inclusive growth. For inclusive growth, you have to spend after health, you have to spend after quality education, you have to generate, this skills. You have to inculcate skills in our people. Because if you have two factories, just let's say two factories dealing in same business, one factory number one, factory number two. So here you have all people working here are illiterate, and here you have educated people. Even the blue collar workers are graduates, let's say. Right over here you have even the owner is not educated. In long term, which company is going to perform well? Of course, number two, because number two, they know, they're more trainable, they are more educated, they know many things compared to number one. So this is how it works with nations as well. So as we were talking about, that supporting MG Narega, PM Kisan, is also important. Providing insurance, health facilities, education, all these things will create jobs, and it will create human resource as well. And these people can generate more wealth. If our 40%, if we can, increase the quality, if we can increase education, health and nourishment and all these things of this bottom 40%, then there is a big market out there, and they can contribute to things and they can purchase things. So this is how economy will work. Here, one more suggestion is given, that we should, there should be a wealth tax or capital tax. So particularly the rich people should pay extra tax. Now, this is always a point of argument, like debate. There are people who say that if you tax rich people, then they will leave your country. They will take their wealth and they will migrate to some other country. That is also the right thing. But there is one argument that means the supporter of this argument, they also say that if you allow more money in the hand of rich people, then they will invest in the market and they will create more jobs. But there are people who say that when a rich person is, when you give them exemptions, or when you are not charging that much as far as tax is concerned, then they accumulate wealth. This wealth is for them. It will not help the poor people. Poor people, you need money in the hands of government, and then government can spend this money for poor people. So there are pros and cons of these arguments. A few points are right, a few points are not that right, but we have to keep both of them in mind, and we have to find a middle ground. Unholy alliance between government and corporate sector is also something that we have to get rid of. In our country, we see this nexus that will, political parties will support a particular business person, and business person will support this political party. So they both will create this ecosystem where mutual benefits are given priorities rather than overall development of our country. And now we have a time for solidarity, not stigma. Now, this article is talking about coronavirus. We know what's going on with China at present. On 4th of February, according to WHO, 9 countries have recorded 27 cases of human-to-human transmission. And there are countries like India, USA, they are, calling their people back. There are so many airlines, they have stopped flying in and out of China. And there are vigilance in China. They are going door to door looking for suspected cases, and they are, boosting this stigma. Stigma is something that we don't need at present. SARS was also a different coronavirus. I have a question for you. Can you tell me the full form of SARS? Right, this is a question for you. SARS. Give me full form in the comment section. So it was also a zoonotic disease, or zoonotic. It has SARS as zoonotic origins. Again, it was traced in China, and it was controlled. But the thing that is matter of concern now is, there are countries that are basically moving away from, they are, going away from China rather than collaborating with China. USA, for example. And the big problem nowadays is rumors and misinformation. And this sort of situations are a breeding ground for rumors and misinformation. Social media is there, and there are so many fake news going on. Fake videos are, viral. And sad thing is, one journalist as well shared a video that was unverified. Unverified means she was not having proper sources, but then as well she shared this video. So these are the things that are going on. Good thing is that Twitter now provides a pop-up message in regions like Hong Kong and Australia. Like if you search coronavirus, then you get this pop-up, know the facts, and it will take you through verified information sources like WHO and other local government bodies, etc. So this is something that we need at present. Apart from that, we have also, a good point in this article that Global Preparedness Monitoring Board had a meeting, and this coronavirus, novel coronavirus outbreak, reminds us that this is something that is not just happening with China. China is just a more visible thing. This can happen with any country. Because the way things are going on at present, transportation, like all of us are global citizens now. Or I would say most of us are global citizens now. We travel at least once a year somewhere. Not everyone, but most of us. So spreading of this sort of diseases is not something, early on it was very shocking, but now it is very common. And this sort of epidemics and pandemics, they are not going to end. They are going to be more in future. We don't know what will happen after severe impact of climate change. New viruses, bacteria may take birth as well. So this is a right time where we collaborate with this sort of countries. We help each other. If we cannot help them in terms of money, we can at least help them with help of whatever technology we have, whatever research or medicinal help. If we can share with each other, then we should do it, because Dr. Tedros is basically, there was a meeting of United Nations, and a person called Dr. Tedros, he said that this is a time for facts and not fear. This is the time for science and not rumors, and this is the time for solidarity and not stigma, and he is absolutely right. News items: trust formed for Ram temple construction. You have all important details in this infographic. Then UP government allots 5 acres for building mosque. It's about this Babri Masjid. Center moves Supreme Court in Nirbhaya case. Electric vehicles, SUVs energize auto show, Delhi Auto Show 2020. So many electronic vehicles are in pipeline. WHO busts myths and fake messages on coronavirus, and PM pitches for boosting defense exports. We can export somewhere around 35,000 crore worth of items. So this is our potential. And that's everything in today's discussion, dear friends. Thank you very much for your love and support. I will see you with daily financial news analysis later on today. Till then, enjoy your studies. God bless you all. Jai Hind.